Hey everybody, Bryce Koon here with the Crowded Booth. We're talking Braves baseball today. Spring training games start this Friday, I believe. Ralph Leary is going to be joining the show as we take our positional previews this week. Today we're talking outfield. We know we have two studs, but what's going to happen in left field? All that and more on today's episode of the Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.
Hello, everyone. Bryce Koon alongside Ralph Leary. We're talking Atlanta Braves baseball. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And as your favorite YouTubers always say, make sure to hit that notifications bell so you know when the next videos are in your feed. If you're listening, which a lot of you do listen to the podcast, whether it's Apple, Spotify, anywhere in between, make sure to give us a review there. Give Ralph a 1-star, give me a 5-star, or flip-flop that however you see fit. As we talk Atlanta Braves, and Ralph, it's about that time of the year. Spring training games do start this weekend, and it brings up, first off, we're not going to talk about Bally Sports. We're not going to talk about what's going on. We're just going to leave it at that.
Fixed. That's all I
Just get it. Just fix the problem. Please. Fix the problem, please. No, we're talking Atlanta Braves here, Ralph. We're going to do positional previews. This episode's not going to contain Sam Beatty, who was on one of the most watched videos we had last year, talking about Freddie Freeman.
It's because I watched it about 20 times.
Oh, dang. Well, on 6 different computers. So that was what was going on. But let's talk here about the outfield. Now, let's talk about the easy ones.
Yeah.
Let's start
Right field.
with Mr. Himothy himself, Michael Harris II.
Oh, you're going. I thought it said right field first.
No. Yeah, you said right field first. I want to start in center field. Did you see the documentary that Braves did on him? I haven't watched it yet. I need to watch it.
You like it.
But look, they lock Michael Harris up. He's the center fielder for the future. Ralph, I mean, not much we as non-experts of the Atlanta Braves are going to be able to say about Michael Harris and the fact that this kid's really good. You have to feel really good about the future, knowing that you have a kid that is from Atlanta, obviously wanted to be here, and he's locked up. What was that contract again? Was it 7? Was it a 7-year deal?
I thought it was 8. I can give you the exact. You want me to? You're going to do it yourself because your keyboard is extremely loud.
Oh, I apologize. 8-year extension. 8-year, $72 million. So they buy out arbitration years. And listen, for anyone that thinks like the Acuna and the Albies kind of contracts, you're buying out years where they're going to be making like several $100,000. And you're going ahead and giving them a lot of money up front. And look, you're assuming the risk if these guys do get hurt or whatever. But I think this is a good deal. Last August, Braves obviously bring back Michael Harris. Ralph, in a full season, I mean, I expect him to win a Gold Glove. I'd love to see him win a Gold Glove this year. Should have won it last year, in my opinion.
Who did win it for center field last year?
Not a clue. And that's a problem. The fact that we don't know is a problem in the sense that we don't know who won it. I'm going to let you type so my keyboard's not as loud. But I'll keep talking while you look it up.
Brent Grisham.
Solid defender. A solid defender.
But
the fact that it didn't stick out immediately.
Well, I just forgot. I knew it was on the Padres. I just couldn't remember his name.
Gotcha. You're a better man than me. But the Braves lock up another core player, Michael Harris. Look, this is a guy that could hit 20 to 25 home runs this year. No doubt about it, in my opinion. It's also a guy that could steal around 25 to 30 bases. And look, he's going to be a gazelle out there. I mean, he's catching everything. Do you remember the catch? I think Kyle Wright was pitching, and the ball into right center field near the chop house, and he runs it down backhanded. And it was the game that Andrew Jones was sitting behind home plate.
Right, yeah.
And Andrew was just like, wow. So I think there's not much more we can say kind of about this and the fact that, I'm excited to see Michael Harris play a full season in Atlanta. I mean, anything you want to add on that?
No, I mean, you hit it on the nail there. He gets a full season to play in Atlanta. He, had an outstanding rookie year. I mean, all respect to him. He had a solid season. I mean, he really did. He showed up when the Braves needed him the most. They went on to win 14 straight games with him. One of the best turnarounds in baseball. You talk about a team that was down 10 games to the Mets and then coming back and winning the division for the 5th straight year. I mean, this is this kid who sparked a rally in this team, sparked a little fire in him. And he was he's young and he's got a lot of energy out there, and he's it's you talk about rookies. Rookies have like their streaks where they start out really hot and they're really good, and then they kind of everyone starts to figure them out. They couldn't figure out Michael Harris.
Even when he struggled, he wasn't it wasn't bad. You know what I mean? Like
he would go on a 1 or 2 game streak where he was like he may go over 3 or 4, but he's also extending pitch counts. He's also making plays in the outfield. It's not like he's having 2 or 3 errors in a week. I mean, he had no errors. He was making plays left and right. So
yeah, I mean, he's just a solid player, and I think that. Look, I mean, I've asked the question, Ralph, when we talked about the Dansby Swanson thing. How many people can you let leave and keep the culture? I think this is a guy at a young age who's going to be able to. Look, Austin Riley's the face of the franchise, but Michael Harris is a guy that is. Does he take over the role that kind of Dansby had in the sense, not from a leadership perspective this early on in his career, but that local guy that everyone loves and the city can rally around? It's going to be interesting to see.
I don't know if you say that anymore because Matt Olson's technically a local
Matt
guy.
Olson's that guy, yeah.
He
also the Braves are spoiled with so many guys that played in that area. It's like,
I know. It's crazy.
It's gonna be fun to watch. So Michael Harris starting opening day center fielder. You obviously feel good. I might buy a jersey. I'm thinking about copying a Navy jersey because I don't have a Navy one. I used to have a white one. Sold it perfectly. Timing. It was a Dansby Swanson. I have a red Acuna. And that's what we're going to talk about now. The right fielder, Ronald Acuña Jr., Ralph. This probably has a little more conversation to talk about because, look, we know what this guy can be. And if you don't know, and if you forgot, which I think a lot of people, I'll go on a limb and say this. I think a lot of people have forgotten what he can be. Just because 2021, he tears his ACL. We often forget, though, he was having MVP caliber numbers up until then. And that was, I believe, the Saturday before All-Star Weekend. When they play, because I think he was supposed to be an All-Star game.
Friday or Saturday before, because I remember very vividly where I was at.
Yeah, it was one of those where obviously we know the injury. He obviously misses, and then he comes back way less than the recommended or the kind of normal we see 1 year recovery. Just because he's young, he's a great athlete, and he's strong, and he worked his tail off to get there. Ralphie comes back and. Look, he provides glimpses. I think that, you see the power that he still had. I mean, but now he gets an offseason where he doesn't have to rehab. He can go train. And look, I mean, we'll bring it up. I know that you sent me some clips and I watched it, but playing down in the Venezuelan League, I mean, look, this guy, I think he's ready to return to the throne as one of the most electric players in all of baseball.
We're also forgetting that when he was rehabbing and when he was out, there was a lockout going on. So he couldn't have access to Braves, all the coaches and all the trainers there. So he was training on his own and rehabbing on his own, really. I mean, obviously he has his own trainer probably, and, the doctors and the hospitals where hospital he was at was helping him out because if you didn't see the picture on Twitter a while back or when he got surgery, Conor McGregor was there at the same time. Yeah. So it was kind of a cool photo. But then, like you said, he is a full off season. I mean, you see him in Venezuela, he's having a great time. Now, he's a lot of controversy going on with him, but, that's the player he is. He's young. He's exciting to watch. He's gonna make some people mad. But it's because he's having a good time doing it.
Yeah, and I think, too, I mean, you mentioned the controversy. He did come out and say he's retiring from the Venezuelan League. Because now look, that's where he's from, and I saw this clip. Or I read this in an article earlier this week about how once Miguel Cabrera retires, like Acuna may become the guy that the country of Venezuela says this is our guy that's in the major leagues. Now Miguel Cabrera is a legend, he over there and over here.
It's not fair to compare him to.
No, yeah, but just as a face of that is going to be interesting. So, but. He's going to be retiring for the Venezuelan League, but I think the flair he brings, that's him. It's him. And why would you limit if that? Look, some guys play better, and especially we know, Look, I've seen so many clips of podcasts talking about this. Why? And we talked about it in an episode last year. We need to stop. We need to calm down on these bat flips and in the celebrations. That's who Acuna is. And that's how he feeds off energy. And I'll be honest with you, I love seeing it. Like I'm of the camp, and we've said this multiple times. If as a pitcher, if you don't want that to happen, strike him out. And if you strike out a hitter
Or
of
walk them. Just don't
caliber,
deal with it.
yeah, exactly. If you strike out a hitter of the caliber of Ronald Acuña Jr., yeah, fist pump because you just struck out one of the best players in the world of what you're doing. So
And we
look, I
can
think
say
Acuña's
that
going to have a
because
big year
he's not from America. He is,
of the world.
he is. Yeah, it's of the world. I mean, seriously. I mean, some people say,
Yeah.
"Well, he's the best player in Major League Baseball." No, he's the best player. Like, if I said Shohei Ohtani is the best player in baseball, I mean that in all world baseball. He was doing it in Japan. He's doing it over here.
And we're about to see that World Baseball Classic starts next
I'm
week.
excited,
Acuña's
man.
playing. Ralph, we should go live at like 3:00 in the morning when the U.S. plays.
Well, they play at 10 o'clock at night.
Oh well, we should.
But,
You know,
by the way,
it's whatever.
I was looking at the Venezuela roster. I was just trying to see. We also forget Jose Altuve's on that team. By the way,
They're loaded.
no, they're not loaded. The Dominican Republic is loaded.
I believe they're loaded.
Dominican Republic will win it. 100.
Dominican Republic might have the best infield. I also think I just changed my mic, and so
You did.
I did.
It's a lot quieter now.
a lot quieter. It's okay. People make the comments on the show that I'm whispering because my wife is in the bed, but we're recording this at 9:00 in the morning, so we won't have to worry about that. She's at work. Let's keep rolling here because this is where the majority of the conversation is going to happen. Center field, we know Michael Harris is going to be there. We know Ronald Acuña Jr. is going to be in right field. There's a lot of interesting options in left field. So I'll kind of start it off, and I want to start off with a guy that I want to say this first.
Needs no introduction.
Super Rosario?
Yeah.
Okay, so Super Rosario. Eddie Rosario. Look, this isn't a guy that before Atlanta was a superstar. He wasn't really, and I think this is fair to say, he wasn't a starter level. Like, he wasn't a guy that was that. He was serviceable, but on a roster for the Braves, you just kind of need average play in left field, in my opinion. This roster's very talented.
2019 was like his all-time greatest year.
Yeah.
When he had 109 RBIs and 32 homers.
So that's saying, I mean, look, I don't get into WOBA. I don't get into that kind of stuff. I mean, I just watch the game, and I can, a lot of us can just see how good a player is there. I want to say this. Yes, we can look at the stats of what Eddie Rosario did not do and did not accomplish last season. But the guy couldn't see, Ralph. He had to have eye surgery. And listen, to the average person, like you and I here, if we're having eye surgery and we're going back to our jobs, we're going to be fairly decent at you. Maybe, I don't know. Could you drive? I mean, there would be certain thing. But I guarantee you, Ralph, driving a UPS truck after eye surgery is way easier than trying to hit, I don't know. I mean, anybody. I was going to, go with Edwin Diaz, but much less anybody. I mean, that's a hard thing to do. And so I think that, we got to give him this year to kind of see what happens. I mean, to me, Rosario's the guy that's going to get the first cut here. We're going to talk about the other guys. I mean, you kind of echo that, though? I mean, get the guy a chance. He couldn't see. Now he has a full offseason.
Yeah, I think what Ron Washington said it best was, his first, week back and getting the full swings at things was he had a home run until the top of the chop house and said it was just BP, and he goes, oh, he could finally see, and so
yeah.
Last year it's a guy who had to take off for what I think it was 4 months almost.
It was like 3 or 4 months. I mean,
it was
a
3
while.
months,
Yeah.
and it was a while he was out, and and getting back into the swing of things, it's not easy.
No.
I mean, you're talking about guys who are throwing upper 90s, and you're trying to hit a baseball, which is not very big, and you're trying to time it properly to hit it in the play, and you're trying to hit it, it might break, it might go outside.
Mm-hmm.
You never know what's going to happen. It's not an easy sport. Baseball, to me, is probably the hardest sport to play.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
I've played baseball and I played football, and I play golf now. I know golf's not easy, but I really try to hit a golf ball than a baseball right now. At least the golf ball's just sitting there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we have to give Rosario a chance here, and so I think he's going to get the first cut. A guy that look, they're going to continue to give opportunities, whether people like it, and I'll just say this from a moral standpoint or not, is Marcel Ozuna. I mean, look, this guy is obviously contains. I think it's okay to say this. He contains elite offensive potential. Now, whether that potential is going to be hit is a completely different question. But when you look at what he can do, we know he can do with the bat. I mean, I think it's safe to say he could be an elite offensive option. Now, on the other hand, Ralph, It's a guy that offers little to nothing on the defensive side of things. Now, he did come out and say he had an injury. Ralph, I don't know. I'm not going to join. Yeah, noodle arm as. Remember that game we went to? Ozuna. He's trying. I promise you, he's trying. He's trying.
Hit a home run for me. He's trying. I promise you.
He's trying. I promise you, he is. Look, Marcel Ozuna. I mean, the potential of his offense. I think they're going to keep him on the roster. Is he going to be the DH? I don't know.
Well, I mean, you got to think now.
I don't know. So Marcel Ozuna, obviously the potential of the offense, Ralph, I think is something that's going to keep him with a roster spot. Designated hitter. I mean, if he produces enough, last year he didn't. Obviously had the off-the-field stuff going on too. So, I mean, that obviously played a role in his inability to see a ton of at-bats. But it kind of takes us to a couple of options. We're not going to dive too deep into them because we're not going to make this a really long episode because a lot of Braves fans know. I mean, you know what you're going to have in the outfield. It's probably the most predictable group outside of left field. The non-roster invitees, Kevin Pillar, who, Ralph, earlier in his career was a really good defender. And could do some things, obviously, with the bat. Another guy, Jordan Luplow. I know that he played for Cleveland. I know also that he, his scouting report says that he's got a little pop in his bat. Sam Hilliard, another guy that is really good with a glove. And a guy like Eli White that I think you mentioned that he stole double-digit bags last year and got caught maybe once or twice. So only once last season. So they have some options. Those are all options. We're going to see how it shakes out in spring training. And so, but to wrap it up here, Ralph, I want to go back to a guy that's on the roster and who people are talking about. He's battling for a job in another position right now, and it's Orlando Arcia.
Yeah.
He's seen some time in left field. Now, look, it's not the smoothest of things, but if that's something they really work on, and if Vaughn Grissom wins that job outright, which we'll talk about that later in the week, if he wins that job outright, and, Marcel Ozuna is not really where you want him, and none of the non-roster invitees really fit. I mean, it's something they've tried before. I love Atlanta's coaching staff. I'm not going to put anything past Ron Washington, Eric Young Jr., Eric Young, not his son, Eric Young to be able to get these guys defensively ready. So does Arcia get a shot in the outfield? I mean, I think that might be something kind of worth looking at.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. We were talking about earlier. Adriazzano is also a non-roster invite. A guy who played with the World Series team, who had some really big moments on that team. Actually, if you go back and look at what he did in those playoff games when he came out clutch, I think one game, I think it was against the Dodgers. Actually, he had a huge game. It was that pinch hit double he had down the line, and then brought up Rosario to hit the 3-run homer. Yeah. That was it. Yeah. And like I said, Orlando Arcia, came in when Ozzie Albies got hurt. He's not the pop that Ozzie has. He's not the speed, but he was making a great case that he could start and be that second baseman every day for us. And then he also got hurt. Yeah. And that was the reason why Vaughn Grissom was called up. And obviously Vaughn Grissom had to play second base, not his normal position. So Vaughn Grissom now moving to shortstop. You feel more comfortable with him at shortstop. This is his natural position. Worked a lot of offseason with Ron Washington. I think he wins that position. So then Arcia is less as a utility guy. Mm-hmm. If Rosario's not working out and these non-roster invites, I could see him playing left field. I think it makes sense. I mean, he's a good player. He's got a great arm. He can do what he needs to do. I mean, I think he could throw better left-handed than Ozuna can right-handed, honestly. But that's just me. And I'm saying that because that's a former Gold Glover.
Yeah. I'm wild. I think if there's one guy just with the experience, I think Kevin Pillar is a guy to watch for in this situation. I think he's going to be on the roster. Just my opening day kind of prediction with that. Another guy that I want to list out here, a younger guy that is not talked about, not really, I would say, on the top prospect list, but Justin Dean. Who has a cannon, Ralph, and we've seen some of the highlights when he was in Mississippi. Justin Dean's going to be a guy to watch out for because, truthfully, we know that you're going to have to rotate 6, 7, 8 outfielders throughout an entire season. Injuries are going to happen. Rest days are needed. Acuna and Harris are not going to be able to play all season long. So it's going to be really interesting to see what guys step up. I mean, to me, I'd love to have a guy like Kevin Pillar on the roster, a veteran who can go play with a glove. I mean, look, he can spot Michael Harris in center field for a day. I don't at this point in his career. I don't think he's an everyday center fielder, but I think he could play one day a week. If you wanted to move Acuna over to center, you could put Kevin Pillar in right. I mean, it's guys not absent with the glove. And like we talked about, this roster is so well rounded. You don't need, because I think people get caught up, and we've said this all the time. This is our one big gripe with Braves fans. We get caught up in the time. Remember, this is not a video game. This is not where you have 99 overall players at every single position. You know that you have MVP caliber talent at the corners, infield positions. You know that your other two outfield positions are guys that have won 2 out of the last 4, 2 out of the last 5 Rookie of the Year awards. Acuña's added 2 Silver Sluggers since then. You don't need, a 30-40 home run guy in left field. You just need a guy that can play good defense and maybe offers some upside in obviously with the bat as well. So, I think that this can be an interesting situation to kind of monitor, and we're going to learn a lot here over the next couple of weeks, which, Ralph, as we wrap up here, we can't watch the spring training games, but we're going to for sure. We're just going to have to be serenaded with the baritone voice of Ben Ingram.
That's the best way to get serenaded, though, isn't it?
That's the best way, indeed. This has been the Crowded Booth. My name is Bryce Koon. He's Ralph Leary. We're talking Atlanta Braves. This is the outfield position preview. Let us know what you think down in the comments below. And we're going to be talking infield next, and then obviously the pitching staff, which I think this rotation has the potential to be the best in the National League, if not all of baseball, if all things click. Obviously, baseball, you don't know if everything's going to click. It's going to be a lot of fun to talk about. My name is Bryce Koon. He is Ralph Leary. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure to hit us up and join the Discord. We're going to put the Discord link down below. Yes, is it Georgia Tech? There's a lot of Georgia Tech fans there, of course, but a lot of you are also Braves fans. We got a college football tab. We got an NFL tab. We're going to be adding some more as well as we get to talking more and more about sports. We want you to join that conversation. We'll see you next time, and make sure to stay. Where should they stay, Ralph?
I don't know.
Just
Stay
keep
frosty.
keep your stick on the ice.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The crowded booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.